Christianity has been a persecuted religion since the death of Jesus Christ himself. This continued for the first 3 centuries. The most severe persecutions occurred from 301 to 313 before the legalization of Christianity in the Roman Empire. This period is known as the Great Persecution. Why did these persecutions take place? To understand the causes of persecution, you need to know several features of the pagan world. Pagans believed in their territorial gods. Scandinavians in Thor, Slavs in Perun, Romans in Jupiter, Greeks in Zeus. If a German came to Rome, he began to honor the Roman gods. If a Roman came to Egypt, he honored the Egyptian gods. Pagan gods are local gods. The Roman Empire used the principle of specific religious tolerance in relation to other people's beliefs. With the seizure of territories, they added new gods of enslaved peoples to their pantheon. However, the Jews became a problematic people. Jews are monotheists. They denied all gods except Yahweh. They consider him the only God, the real one. Yahweh is the creator of the whole world and all people in the world. The Romans could not apply the principle of religious tolerance to Jews because Roman religious tolerance implied the obligatory veneration of the divine figure of the emperor and traditional gods. Christians left Judaism and adopted faith in one God. They denied the authenticity of other gods. But Rome treated Christians as a Jewish sect and did not even take them seriously until the 2nd century, until special regulations appeared to restrain Christians. Since the 3rd century, Christianity has been banned because religion has become too numerous and uncontrolled. The Christians themselves were tolerant, although they did not recognize other gods. For the Romans, this became a key problem. Even the denial of the cult of the emperor was not so important compared to the denial of pagan gods. Why? The citizens of Rome were suspicious of those who did not honor their gods. The Roman historian Cornelius Tacitus called Christians misanthropists because Christians did not worship the gods. And what was fraught with disrespect? Imagine that there was a huge fire or a terrible flood. The pagan thinks that God has punished them in this way. Why did you punish me? Because Christians deny it. Christians insult the faith of pagans by their existence. For this, they need to be punished because the pagan does not want the life of his family and the whole country to be in danger. Persecution of Christians from the point of view of pagans is the salvation of oneself and the traditional way of life. It was not clear to the pagans why Christians could not honor their gods, because pagans could honor other people's gods. What is the problem? Why hate our pagan society and our pagan culture so much? Why anger the gods? Unlike the Jews, Christianity was not limited to one nation. Christianity spread to all nations. From the point of view of the authorities, Christians corrupted society, led away from traditional religions and traditional values. Rome lived by tradition and myths. That was its foundation. Christians, on the other hand, asserted some strange equality before a foreign god and changed their view of the social structure. The Roman authorities saw a danger in the Christian cult. If a person does not honor the state gods of Rome, then they question the legitimacy of the authorities and the state system. For Rome was created by the gods. All great families begin their descent from the Roman gods. Christians question the entire structure of the Roman Empire and Roman society. Christ says, "Caesars to Caesar, gods to God." The separation of religious and state was impossible for Rome. How can Caesar and God be separated if Caesar is God's henchman? The veneration of Caesar is the veneration of the gods. Christians later borrowed this principle and completely changed with pagans in the social hierarchy of the Roman Empire. Whoever was last became the first. It should be understood that until the middle of the 3rd century, the persecution was mainly local in nature. They were conducted by local authorities and the public. Mass persecution began only in 250. The apogee was the beginning of the 4th century. But then Christians had already become a fire that could not be stopped. Society perceived Christianity as a kind of sect and was wary of it. The first Christians did not cause much harm to other citizens, and the Romans did not consider it necessary to react to minor precedents and formulate new laws. But in 250, the situation changed. The Christian trend began to capture more and more minds. The reigning emperor at that time, Decius Trajan, decided to keep control over the religious life of Roman society, and his decision has become one of the main directions of domestic policy. In the Roman environment, the worship of the gods was accepted, which, in turn, guaranteed Rome power over the whole world. Decius understood that the neglect of the old gods by Christians could anger them and lead to disastrous consequences. Therefore, the emperor took on a responsible mission to restore the shrines. The persecution of Christians lasted a year and a half. During this period, from 3,000 to 3,500 adherents of a faith alien to the Romans were killed. Contrary to the emperor's plan, the persecution not only did not stop the spread of Christianity, but on the contrary, increased people's craving for a new religion. A cult of saints and martyrs was formed, and there is nothing more honorable for the people than to follow God's chosen ones. One of the first decrees of Decius obliged every Roman to publicly sacrifice an animal and eat a piece of meat. The event had to be recorded by the local authorities and recorded in a special document. Roman citizens who gave their souls to the new god and refused to comply with the emperor's decree were subjected to severe torture and death penalty. Some of their Christians were forced to obey in order to save their lives. Someone fled, someone just bought the necessary certificate. But there were also those who did not betray the faith and went to the scaffold. The emperors who assumed power after Decius also did not leave the apostates alone. Christians were forbidden to gather for rites and ceremonies. Church literature was seized. Temples were destroyed. The executions invented for dissidents were cruel and inhumane. As a punishment, Christians were thrown to wild animals. It was the most common. To please the public, the spectacles were accessible to all the curious. A man was pushed into the arena, and then angry and hungry lions, tigers, or bears were released there. The execution did not last long. Wild animals knew their business well. In 258, decrees were issued, the first of which forbade worship, and the second was directed against the nobles. He ordered, in case of disobedience and refusal to return to the old faith, the confiscation of all their property, and even the death penalty. 2 popes paid with their lives for defending their rights to a new religion, as they disobeyed the decree and held services among the parishioners. However, the Roman authorities could not stop the spread of Christianity. By about the beginning of the IV century AD, Christians in the empire could be up to 1/10 of the entire population. In order to arrest all Christians in one area or another, it was sometimes necessary to free up places in prisons, releasing all criminals. Because of this, the Roman emperors gradually made a fateful decision. If something cannot be stopped, then it must be headed. In 313, Emperor Constantine, by his Edict of Milan, completely legalized the Christian faith. Very quickly, Christianity becomes the only official religion of the entire Roman state.